The screen flickers for a split second, your heart pauses, and then, there it is. That tiny gray checkmark you've been staring at for weeks suddenly transforms into something else, something bigger, something powerful. A badge, a symbol, a silent announcement to the world that you've crossed an invisible line that millions try to reach but only a few truly understand. And in that exact moment, everything feels different. Not because your content magically improved overnight, not because your audience suddenly doubled, but because now you are no longer just another voice in the noise. You are verified. And whether people admit it or not, that single mark changes how the world perceives you, how algorithms treat you, how brands approach you, and most importantly, how you start seeing yourself. But here's the real question. Nobody asks loudly, what actually happens behind the scenes of channel verification? Why does it matter so much? And is it truly about credibility? Or is there something deeper, more strategic, almost psychological happening beneath the surface? Because if you rewind just a few weeks back, you'll remember the uncertainty, the doubt, the constant refreshing of your dashboard, wondering if you've done enough, if your content meets the invisible standards that no official guideline fully explains. And this is where the story gets interesting. Because channel verification is not just a technical process, it's a silent filter, a gatekeeping mechanism designed by platforms to separate consistency from randomness, seriousness from casual posting, identity from anonymity, and trust from uncertainty. And yet, what most creators don't realize is that verification isn't just about numbers like subscribers or views, it's about patterns. Patterns of behavior, patterns of engagement, patterns of authenticity that the system quietly observes over time like a judge who never speaks but remembers everything. And imagine this like a courtroom where your content is the evidence, your audience is the witness, and your consistency is the argument. And somewhere behind the scenes, algorithms are silently evaluating whether you deserve to be seen as real or just another temporary signal in the endless stream of uploads. Because platforms today are not just hosting videos, they are protecting ecosystems. Ecosystems where trust is currency, and verification becomes the stamp that says, this creator is stable, reliable, and worth prioritizing. And the moment you understand this, you begin to realize that verification isn't a reward. It's a responsibility disguised as a badge. But here's where things take a sharp turn. Because while most people chase verification thinking it unlocks instant fame, the reality is far more layered, far more strategic. Because verification is not the finish line. It's actually the beginning of a completely different game. A game where expectations rise, scrutiny increases, and every move you make starts carrying weight. Because now you're not just representing yourself, you're representing a standard. And this is why many creators feel an invisible pressure after getting verified. A pressure to maintain quality, to stay relevant, to justify that badge that sits next to their name like a silent contract they've signed without reading the terms. And if you zoom out for a second, you'll notice something fascinating. Audiences behave differently around verified channels. They trust faster, they click quicker, they assume authority even before watching the content. And this is not accidental, this is psychological design. Because human brains are wired to look for signals of credibility, and that little check mark acts like a shortcut. A mental confirmation that this is legit, even if the content itself hasn't been evaluated yet. And this is exactly why verification holds so much hidden power. It influences perception before performance. But let's go deeper, because the process of verification itself is often misunderstood. People think it's just about hitting a subscriber milestone or submitting a request, but in reality, it's a combination of identity validation, activity consistency, policy compliance, and reputation signals that accumulate over time. And while the platform may give you a form to fill or criteria to follow, the real evaluation happens in layers you never see. How often you upload, how your audience interacts, whether your content triggers trust signals or suspicion flags, and even how your channel fits into the larger network of content on the platform. And this is where the tension builds, because not everyone who qualifies gets verified, and not everyone who deserves it receives it at the same time. And this creates a silent frustration in the creator community, a feeling that something is missing, something unclear. And yet that uncertainty is intentional, because if the system were fully transparent, it could be easily manipulated, and platforms know this, which is why they maintain a certain level of mystery around verification, turning it into something that feels earned rather than simply achieved. Now imagine the moment right before you hit that threshold, the anticipation, the questions running through your mind, the subtle fear that maybe it won't happen even after all the effort, and that moment is crucial because it reveals something important about human behavior. We don't just want success, we want recognition, and verification becomes a form of recognition that feels official, almost institutional. as if the platform itself is acknowledging your presence and saying, "You matter here." But here's the twist that most people don't expect. Verification alone does not guarantee growth, and in some cases, it exposes weaknesses more clearly than before. Because now your content is being judged at a higher standard, your audience expects more, and the algorithm watches more closely. And this is why some creators plateau even after getting verified. Because the badge opens doors, but it doesn't carry you through them. You still have to walk, still have to prove, still have to evolve. And as the screen fades back to that original moment, the badge appearing next to your name, you begin to understand that what looked like a simple milestone is actually a turning point, a shift from being unnoticed to being observed, from experimenting to being expected, from chasing attention to managing influence, and the real story of channel verification isn't about how to get it. It's about what happens after you do. अगर ये टोन और स्टाइल तुम्हें पसंद आया, तो मैं पार्ट 2 से पार्ट 15 तक सेम सिनेमैटिक डेप्थ में कंटिन्यू करूंगा, जहां हम वेरिफिकेशन के हिडन मैकेनिक्स, एक्स्ट्रा फीचर्स का रियल इम्पैक्ट, मोनेटाइजेशन साइकोलॉजी, एल्गोरिदम बिहेवियर और क्रिएटर माइंडसेट ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन सब कुछ डीप डाइव करेंगे। बताओ, कंटिन्यू करूं पार्ट 2?